to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is leadership, not the charging ahead with the leader in the front and everybody just following blindly, but arm in arm leadership and changing paradigms around that and what that can mean for our future and for creating a future that we would like to live into. So it should be an interesting conversation. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together and vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. And welcome to you, and good morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us this morning. So today, it's Friday, by the way, so happy Friday. And today we're talking about leadership. And the reason for this is because last night on the Sustainability Now movie night, we had the very great privilege of featuring an interview that I had the honor to do with Nina Simons, who is one of the founders. She and her husband, Kenny Ausubel, founded Bioneers. And if you're not familiar with Bioneers, I invite you to check it out. For the past 35 years, they have been engaged in planetary transformation. Everything that is part of healing our ecosystems, both in nature and in human terms as well. So human to human and human to nature and nature to nature. And they have a conference every year where they feature people from all different areas. They have a very large indigeneity program, and they're leaders in the world of forward thinking. So I invite you to check out bioneers.org, BIONEERS.org. And Nina wrote a book that I've spoken about before. I think it's called Nature, Culture, and the Sacred. I do know that the tagline is "A Woman Listens for Leadership." And so what the book is about and what our conversation was about last night and is about this morning is about a form of leadership that shows itself as a collaborative venture, a collective kind of leadership that is embracing the divine feminine, that is reinstating the beauty of the feminine for all people, not gender-based. And so what that means is a movement toward wholeness, which we talk about here all the time. And that wholeness means reclaiming our emotions, our intuition, our bodily intelligence, our emotional intelligence, our spirituality, coming back to that. And it's so, I was thinking of calling today's conversation rationality with a question mark, because culturally, with the masculine expression that has been very much a part of the patriarchy, it's been a culture of domination and control, colonization, slavery, racism, white supremacy, war, capitalism is part of that too, in the way that we have expressed it, at least, where we've been in a culture that is very much about separation and about external validation. So validation by how much we can accumulate, by who we know, by what our skills are. That's it, by our amount of education, our amount of money or property, on and on, right? So, and even in spiritual circles, and people often find themselves in the trap of, I'm not advanced enough, I'm not where I want to be spiritually, right? That it's this constant race for more. And this new notion of leadership is a leadership that has a wholeness to it. It's not disembodied heads trying to make decisions that are disconnected. I mean, whoever said it was rational to disconnect ourselves from relationship, from the impact of our actions? There was a law in Wyoming. This got challenged. This is a beautiful and exciting thing, actually. There's an organization called Our Children's Trust. And you may have heard of it. It is where the case Juliana versus United States.gov, or United States. And what that was is a case that asserts that our children, and all of us by extrapolation, have the right to clean water, clean air, and a healthful environment, and a climate stable environment. So anyway, Wyoming has a law in their state constitution that says that the people have a right to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment. And so there was a suit as part of Our Children's Trust against the state, because they put a law on the books that said that when new fossil fuel projects were being proposed or licensed, it was against the law to consider the environmental impact. Now, tell me what about that conversation is rational to begin with. A law on the books that said when looking at licensing or permitting for new fossil fuel projects, it was against the law to consider the impact of that development. How absolutely insane is that? Well, anyway, they challenged this in court, and the beautiful thing is they won. Now, that may be something that is going to get appealed. I think that I'm not certain if the law was stricken or exactly what the next phase of things is. But when we talk about leadership, look at these kids. These kids, they're kids with the backing of attorneys, obviously, who are very committed to this project. But and a lot of adults clearly who are helping to support this initiative, but it's kids who are standing up and leading together. They're standing up and making their voices heard. And this is something that each and every one of us can do. We can step into the service to the thing that is passionately calling for our engagement, for our hearts to serve the greater purpose. Okay, so one of the distinctions that was so beautiful last night in talking about leadership is that people who are leaders are often driven by the notion that the power of that leadership is theirs, that they're the powerful ones, rather than that the power is something that they serving something greater than themselves. So we were talking about what is toxic leadership, or what are some indicators of toxic leadership, and what are the pitfalls. And certainly one of the pitfalls is believing that it's you, like that power belongs to you, rather than that power gets used in service to something greater, to, as Nina put it, mother life, in service to mother life. One of the indicators of toxic leadership that she identified was if as a leader you need to put others down to elevate yourself, that's an indicator of toxicity. And an indicator of this new, more holistic and wholesome notion of leadership is that we elevate one another, that we're not competing, that we're collaborating, that we're on the same team for all intents and purposes. And that as we are able to elevate one another, a rising tide rises all ships. So the notion is arm in arm leadership more than it is charge ahead and follow the leader. It's let us all be bringing our gifts and our skills and our passion and our hearts to the greater purpose. So there are individual leaders too. If we think of Greta Thunberg, this is a kid who started a whole movement, and it wasn't about her, and she was really clear it wasn't about her, but she was the voice. She had the courage to step into her role, to step into something that she is in passionate service to helping or healing the planet. and our interactions with it. And leadership doesn't have to be something that is necessarily glorified or even largely recognized, but it is a leadership in service, I think. Check it out, feel into it. And that's a whole other story. It's instead of think about it, it's feel into it, because we have this physical intelligence, we have a bodily intelligence, we have a deep intuition. We are given, we are in communication with the greater field, the greater universe all the time. And we have been taught to ignore all the signals other than those things that we can just sort of cogitate on our own, all those things that we can rationalize and justify. So we tend to think we're rational, but in fact we're rationalizing, where we justify our often very bad behavior. One of the ways, so this is another simple example of leadership, one of the, and it may or may not be noticed, right? And it doesn't matter. It's not about recognition. And by the way, it's not selfless, self-sacrificing service. No, it's self-expressing service. And what that means is we step into our essence, into the expression of our wholeness, into the expression of our passions and our unique purpose, and find that thing that's lighting us up that we can then bring forward into the world. So those gifts, those talents, those skills, those aren't ours. We're just the vehicle for their expression. Those are ours to give to the world. And so another simple example, there's so many really, really deeply toxic business practices that we have just become acclimated to, that we just take for granted. And I'm quite certain you've heard the phrase, oh, it's not personal, it's just business. Well, guess what? There is no such thing as not personal, because we are individuals. It may not be directed at you personally, but the impact is personal. And so when we look at our business decisions, I was having a conversation the other day with someone who was telling me, well, you know, here you're giving away your what you've developed. You're using your influence to elevate this other group, and you're giving it away. And they were trying to coach me into doing it differently, so I wasn't supporting this other group, and that I was just focusing on myself. And I said, well, I have relationships with that group. I have relationships that and a loyalty to them that make me choose to continue to support them. And there's a way that I can better support myself in that context as well. So it was very interesting, because that was the typical paradigm of business, coming from scarcity, like there's not enough, so I have to hoard something and not share it. And even though there may be some loss of audience or whatever, well, there doesn't have to be a loss of audience, but even though there may be some cost in terms of unrealized gains or something, to me, what what is more important? So for me, to be in integrity is to honor my values. So that in itself is leadership. And particularly when we're interacting with other people who might not be attuned to that sense of principle, who are looking at chasing the bottom line, right, as the priority. So leadership, I think, is, or this new notion of leadership is coming from a place of wholeness and connection, and an awareness of the ramifications of our choices, and accountability for those choices, coming from a place of connection and compassion and caring and collaboration, rather than from a place of control and domination and externalities. So the big switch, the big shift, is that leadership is coming from being, which we talk about all the time, the distinction between doing and being. Leadership coming from a being state that then inspires the action, that the action grows out of integrity with that being state. And when I say integrity, what I mean is integration, alignment with the higher values that we have and that we hold, and allow those values to inform our choices and our actions, rather than to say, oh, it's business, so anything goes. I can do all kinds of things that are really not laudable in terms of morality, in terms of humanity. For instance, I can dump the wastewater from the toxic wastewater from whatever my operation is into a waterway where it's going to pollute and kill fish and the ecosystem, and not to mention how it's going to impact the humans as well. Like we just have to get rid of it, and we'll just get rid of it over there, or in lower income areas within cities, to use those areas as waste dumps of all different kinds of waste, because the people don't have the ability to fight back against that or to prohibit it. So leadership is speaking up and being willing to take a stand for those things in your life that you're passionate about and committed to. And it's also coming forward in the expression of your essence. And in this context, we all have the capability to be leaders. We are all leaders. And the leadership of parenting, where you are essentially responsible for indoctrinating someone. I mean, if it comes down to that we, as parents, we do indoctrinate our children, right? We orient them. Hopefully, we give them the skills to be able to navigate and make their own decisions that are rich in integrity too. But this is leadership. This is the way that we are creating a future forward for all of us. So in our daily interactions, the way that we treat people, this too can be looked at as leadership. And it's not something that is consigned to an elite few. Our time is calling for all of us to find our sense of wholeness and sovereignty, and to bring forward our essential gifts as our service to Mother Life. So I think that's it for today. So leading into the weekend, right? And notice how you lead. Notice how you lead. It doesn't mean being out in front. It doesn't have to mean being out in front. So there's a side by side, arm in arm possibility here that we can all be part of. So that's it for today. I wish you a wonderful, wonderful weekend. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And as always, it is my pleasure and privilege to connect with you and commune together and explore and inquire and evolve together. So until next time, so much love to you.